Hello, and welcome to another episode of Healthy Conversations. Today, I am joined by Ruth Dennison, nurse practitioner, masseuse and facialist, and personal trainer. Hello, how are you, Ruth?
Hi, Berta. How are you?
I'm great. Now, I am delighted that although you have many strings to your bow, today we're going to have a conversation around mindful meditation. Because, Ruth, honestly, when I think of someone who has actually managed to bring meditation to their life in a daily practice, it is you. And I really want to crack the code on this. It's not something I've managed to do and sustain. And I think there's a lot of people out there that they hear this, oh yeah, just start meditating. And you think, yeah, easier said than done to get started and, to sustain it as a daily practice. So I'd really like to get into that today. But let's first start with what is meditation, and more specifically, mindful meditation?
Well, in the West, when we talk about meditation, we are generally conjuring up images of the yogi sitting cross-legged with a chant in an ashram, and that is traditionally known as transcendental meditation. People see that and they go, that is not for me. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't be silent. I don't have a mountain to sit on. I'm too busy. No. So that is traditional transcendental meditation. It comes out of the Vedic tradition, which is very close to Hinduism, and is a very ancient tradition in India. Mindfulness, again, a very ancient tradition, comes from the Buddhist tradition, and was brought to the West in the 90s, very famously by a man called John Kabat-Zinn, who is based in the States. He has been instrumental, along with many other practitioners, in bringing it to the forefront and bringing it into the mainstream. Now, obviously, I'm going to go through a little bit of theory, here at this stage, and then I'm going to make it very, very simple that anybody that's watching this can just start the minute the video finishes, okay?
Yeah.
So he started back in the 90s with a program called mindfulness-based stress reduction programs in the States. And mindfulness, in a nutshell, is paying attention. It is paying attention in the present moment in a non-judgmental and compassionate mindset. That's it. It is paying attention. Roberta, if I was to be mindful right now, I am able to concentrate on you. I am not waiting for you to stop talking so then I can actually start talking. I'm not thinking, now when this is finished, I need to do this. All of those things need to be done. But right now, I am paying attention. My bottom is on the chair. I can hear the birds tweeting outside. The light is on. I am just in the moment. Okay. Now that takes practice.
Yeah.
So that's what mindfulness is in a nutshell. Okay. Now I understand that sounds quite simple, but like anything, when you get on a bike for the first time, it seems very difficult. So it's the same with any new skill. It's difficult to start with. So there are many different types of meditation, and then there are actually very many different types of mindfulness meditation within that. So there is a formal practice of mindfulness and an informal practice. So we as humans are extremely highly evolved. We have massive, massive brains. We are at the top of the food chain for a reason. And we are able to create neural shortcuts to get to where we want to much quicker. So we have these neural shortcuts, which means that when we wake up in the morning, we don't have to go, where's my bedroom? Who's that lying in the bed beside me? How do I brush my teeth? How do I drive to work? How do I get to work? What is work? How do I do my job? Your brain is so smart that it's created all those shortcuts that we just do it on autopilot. Unfortunately, the side effect of this highly evolved functional brain is we now live a lot of our lives in that autopilot. So we are eating our dinner and we go for the starter and we go, oh, this is all very nice, but I want to get to the main course. Oh, when I get to the main course, then I want to get dessert. And then I want to get dessert. And then I want to get to my glass of dessert wine. And then I want to, and then I want to, and then I want to. So mindfulness just teaches us with a regular practice to be able to take a breather. So with your formal mindfulness practice, that is whenever you take some very special time out of your mental life in a quiet, safe, warm space. And Roberta, can I tell you, this does not need to be in a dark room with a candle, with no children. Like, I am able to say to my 9-year-old for many years, I'm going upstairs to do my meditation. Mm-hmm. That means unless there is a limb hanging off somebody down here, I don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay. So and also what is I'm mindful that I imagine, because our interest is women at our age and stage, Roberta, I know there'll be many women there going, I don't have time. This is another thing that I have to do. I'm going to be absolutely clear. You're correct. This window of time, be it 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 20 minutes, you will have to create this time. But through a regular practice of just being a little bit more in the moment, you will find tiny windows of time throughout your day. Okay. So when I started 7 years ago, I was just dabbling, but the concept of mindfulness was introduced to me by a beautiful, beautiful South African acupuncturist called Jet. And she told me about this book. Okay?
Oh, lovely. Hold it up there, Ruth, to see the title. Yeah.
So it's Mindfulness, a practical guide to finding peace in a frantic world. And this guy, Mark Williams, works out of the University of Oxford, and Danny Penman is a journalist, and they've come together. So Mark Williams is the neuroscience, sort of sciencey, dorky one. And then Mark, because it's written by a journalist, it's really easy to read, because we've all read very heavy scientific books that are not very.
And I'll put my hand up and say, I read it a few years ago now, and yes, it is very practical. But again, there was that at the time, maybe doing some of the exercises in the book, and then of course it didn't get sustained. But I know from my own perspective, my mindset wasn't there for recognizing the long-term benefit of sustaining a practice. But I will endorse it as you follow the guidance in that, and it could be wonderful. And I know that you have, and that has been the silver bullet for you to establish your practice.
Yeah, because with this, what I would also say is at this stage, Roberta, I don't need a guided I don't listen to anything anymore. I am adept at my practice, and I'm able to meditate on my own. I cannot urge people strongly enough to go for a guided meditation. Now, whether you get the book or you go on, but I will say when you go into mindfulness meditation on YouTube, you will be hit by about 400 million hits. Mm. And then you have to troll through, and you have to like somebody's voice, Bert. Like you, like I have listened to stuff and I'm like, nope. In the same way that, I have on my Instagram page, I have some guided meditations, which we'll talk about in a little while. But I also say on that, if you don't like my voice, turn me off and find somebody else. Mm-hmm. It has to be somebody that you resonate with, because they're going to hold your hand throughout this journey. Sure. So with the book, the first 3 or 4 chapters, is the theory and the science. Now, if you don't care about the theory or the science, then you just skip straight through to the chapter.
They even say that in the book, right?
Yeah, they
tell you just skip straight to it.
And it'll start off, you read the chapter at the beginning of the week. And can I also tell you, even if you don't read the chapter, if you're frazzled out of your biscuit and you're like, I'm not reading any chapter, you literally, there's a CD in the back, if any of us still have CD players or in your car or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they do. But also, it's a free Audible download. Like, they have made this so accessible. people. So there's that. Okay. So that is your formal practice. And they will say to you, please try and do it 5 out of 7 days. If you get to the end of a week and you haven't completed 5 out of 7 days, then please just go back. Now, can I tell you, it sometimes took me 3 weeks to get to the end of a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I really cannot put across strongly enough as well, this is about progress, not perfection. Bert, I know what women are like. This will be another thing to beat themselves with. Mm-hmm. We're going to put all of that judgment, like the basic principles of mindfulness are patience, non-judgment, a beginner's mind, trust, non-striving, acceptance, and letting go. So even if you remember none of those things, it is about, and it starts with self-compassion and kindness.
Yeah.
And it will give you, and as you create your practice, you will find yourself doing mundane things like, as a really busy female, Bert, you're there going, am I unpacking this dishwasher again? Mm-hmm. And we get so caught up in the minutiae of all that domestic drudgery when you go, I'd really rather be on my bike or doing a TRX class or on holidays, when actually the dishwasher and all the tiny domestic minutiae, that's our life. Yeah. Like the other stuff is lovely and it's beautiful to be on holidays and it's beautiful to do fun stuff. But in order to get to that stuff, we are actually missing all of those tiny little nuggets of wisdom and calm and peace around us. And when you create a really strong practice, it starts to sort of fall into place, and you will find actually that initially you will have to carve out that 10 minutes of your time or 6 minutes or 5 minutes. But as the weeks go on, you actually will realize that you have these little moments of time. And what happens is the book guides you to realize that by the end of your day, you could have had 20 moments that might have been less than a minute where you were able to be still. So when I'm in work and I'm turning on a machine, if you're turning on a computer, so it takes maybe 60 seconds. So I now stand with my feet on the floor. Now, nobody realizes I'm doing this, but instead of going, come on, I'm so busy, I feel my feet on the floor. I wait for the beep. I'm able to open the machine, put in the medication, whatever it is I'm doing. And you will find these little tiny windows sitting in traffic lights, waiting for the kettle to boil. Yeah. There's all these tiny little minutes. And when we see them as those little nuggets of calm and peace and stillness, then actually they add up to probably a good 30 minutes over your day.
Yeah. And even in the work environment of maybe people working from home on Zoom calls in between meetings, building that time in to decompress, whether it's, as you walk from the room to do something else, to really try and connect and be present and have this consciousness of your being. Now, there's been a lot there in terms of, understanding, mindful meditation. And, I feel that is really, just to distill it down a bit, this whole things that maybe you do on autopilot because our bodies are designed that way, because that's going to help us get through life and we're highly evolved beings. But to bring your awareness back to yourself, to be more present and to look for the opportunities where it will be appropriate for you to be mindful, that interpretation of being mindful and present in yourself. And Ruth, I'd love to get into the benefits of that from a physiological point of view of what our bodies are actually doing there. I mean, particularly in this time that we're living in at the minute, where there's such a heightened focus on immunity, in this global pandemic, and really helping to make sure that we put ourselves in the best position for survival and for good health. What can mindful meditation do for us in that respect?
So I love this, Bert. This is this is about thriving and not just surviving. Like we are living in, and even pre-COVID, like this, people in the Western world, we are crazy busy. And I think it was Plato or Aristotle or one of the big guns said, you know, beware the emptiness of a busy life.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to dial all of this back, because what is happening when we are, to take it right back, even though our brains are very highly evolved, very, very, very deep in our brains, we are still in the cave. So what happens is, I am way back in the cave, and I'm out there and I'm hunting and I'm shooting and I'm keeping my family safe and I'm keeping my family safe. And all of a sudden there's a bear or a tiger and it's chasing me. And I'm hell for leather and my heart starts beating. I stop digesting. All of those enzymes switch over to my stress. I've got cortisol, I've got adrenaline, I've got noradrenaline. I am in a massively heightened state of fight or flight, and my sympathetic nervous system is on. And can I tell you, even when I'm telling you that story, I'm feeling this because I'm envisaging this is what's happening. So what happened 100 million years ago? I get back to the cave, all of my family and my village barrier us in, and the tiger goes away. And within a very short period of time, everything calms down. My body, the adrenaline, the cortisol, all the stress hormones calm down. My heart rate reduces, my respiration rate reduces, my digestion goes, okay, so we can switch back on now. And I go into what is called the parasympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest.
Yes.
But, and here's the kicker, our brains still think that we're out there in fighting the tiger. And what happens is, unfortunately, in modern world, when I come back inside and close my door at the end of the day, the mortgage or the relationship stress or the news or the social media or the tiger is on top of me 24/7. So here's what happens, right? You're lying in bed and you're like, oh, I'm really glad I'm in bed. And no, we pick up the phone. We've had a fight with our husband. We've struggled to get our kids to bed. We've got older parents, we're looking after them. A myriad, you can pick whatever your stress is. So we're lying, then we can't sleep. So the cortisol's up, the adrenaline's up, the adrenals are just squeezed, and we never get a break. So when you never get a break, all those cortisol and adrenaline and the stress hormones, our human body was never meant to be in that state. It was only meant to be in that state till we got away from the bear and we barriered across the cave. So now we're in fight or flight all the time. And when you're in fight or flight, you are in a constant heightened state of awareness. Your digestion is shocking. We've got all these IBS, all of your irritable bowels, even at very low grade. Oh, I just have poor digestion. You're just a bit irritable. You're just a bit anxious. You're like that because your adrenaline has you up there. So that's all of the downsides of being turned on all the time. And can I also tell you, it is a phenomenal thing as a human being to be able to react like that. But mindfulness allows us to come back down. We want to switch off the cortisol. We want to switch off the adrenaline. When all of those hormones are up, Roberta, our sex hormones don't work, our digestive hormones don't work. It's a mess.
It's prioritizing the survival systems. And rightly so, if they're the signals that are, we are sending our body, I'm stressed, but it's
exactly not. So with all that stress, then those beautiful little microbes that are all singing and dancing or trying to sing and dance in our gut. So I don't know, a lot of people don't realize, but 90% of your immunity is in your digestive system, so in your gut. So you have this beautiful thing called the vagus nerve that travels from your gut all the way up into your brain. And when you sit down in a chair or you stand and you feel your feet on the ground, if you're in work and you can't close your eyes, you just lower your gaze, Roberta, 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It stimulates that vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is the seat of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. It is what makes you as a human feel safe. So here's the thing, when you do all those little moments of just be aware, be present, I'm turning on the light. Literally say to yourself in your head, I am feeling the plastic on my finger. My child is talking. The phone is ringing. It's like this little internal monologue, and it feels ridiculous when you first start to do it. But here's the thing, it's in your head. The crazy shit in your head is, if anybody was to hear the stuff in your head, they think you were crazy anyway.
The crazy woman in the attic.
Yeah, exactly. And be very, very, very careful, because what we have to realize, and this is a real thing in neuroscience, is the negativity bias is like Velcro for the brain, whereas positivity is Teflon. Whoop, gone.
Yeah.
Because that again comes from the cave. We had to remember the negative things because that was what kept us safe. If we didn't remember where the bear lived or the this lived, then we would die. So now we always remember the negative, and that's where we go to. Mindfulness enables us to stop that, that spiral, whenever you have to do a phone call that's a bit stressful, whether it's to your boss or whether it's the bank or whether, and before you do the phone call, you start to think about the phone call. And you go in that spiral of just, and by the time you ring the person, you're in that fight or flight mode and you're aggressive, and they're like, what is the problem? And you end up having a very negative interaction. We do it with our kids. I do it with my husband all the time. He's like, but now he knows, he goes, you've had a conversation in your head. We didn't have that conversation. Yeah, I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So when you get in the habit of being mindful, it will enable you to go. So when you feel that, it doesn't stop your thoughts, Roberta. That, I think that is a real misunderstanding of meditation and mindfulness. I can't stop thinking. No, you're not supposed to stop thinking. You're an amazing thinking human being. It changes your relationship with your thoughts. So your thoughts will come and they'll go. And Roberta, can I guarantee you, whether you do mindfulness or no mindfulness or whatever your gig is, your thoughts will come and they will go. That is a given, because that is what thoughts do. Mindfulness allows you to go, oh, here it comes. Oh, and there it goes. Allow the thought to come and let it go. And sometimes they're dark and stormy. They're like clouds. They're sometimes dark and stormy. There's sometimes none. There's sometimes a little bit of rain. There's so, you know what I mean? Yeah. But you are not your thoughts. I am depressed. I am anxious. I am. No, we are not our thoughts. Those are emotions. Yeah. We are the thinker behind the thought, and we have more control over stuff than we realize. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of very strong scientific studies that show that a regular mindfulness meditation practice is as good for mild to moderate anxiety and depression as medication. Like we're at the tip of the iceberg with really properly bringing this into mainstream, but I'm very excited for where it is hopefully going to go in the future.
Ruth, yes. I mean, I think if people were on the fence prior to this about whether or not meditation was worthwhile, they're off the fence, and they'll be wanting to really try and bring this in. And just from a practical point of view, I would love to hear from you. What does your day look like in terms of, yes, you've got an established practice when it comes to mindful meditation. Can you share some insights as to, how practically you would add up those minutes in a day? What would they look like?
Sure. So I know in our house that the first person will get up in the morning at about 7. So for me personally, I am a morning person. I will get up at 6 or 6:30. Now that sounds repulsive to lots of people, but this is what my practice looks like. Some people might like it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I'll get up at about 6:30. I will put the kettle on. We have an old range, so it takes 20 minutes for a full kettle to boil. So what I love about that, Bert, and I know it sounds so silly and parochial, but it means I don't even have to set a clock. So,
Yeah.
and you know what? Sometimes it boils quicker. Sometimes it has less water in it, but I just know that I sit in our kitchen, which is warm. You know, I don't let the cats in because then the cats are going to be bugging me. So there's all those little tiny things that I know for that protected window of time, I sit on my bum and I meditate. Now, as I said earlier, you have a sitting meditation, you have a breathing, you have all of those things. That's fine. But generally, mindfulness is, I am sitting in the chair. My feet are on the floor. This is in your head. You know, your eyes are closed.
Yeah.
The birds are tweeting. My nose is itchy. Oh shit, I forgot to put on the immersion. It's okay. As the thoughts, you know, this is what I have to do today. The mind will wander 1,000 times, but the mindfulness bit, Berta, is you bring the mind back.
Yeah.
You always bring it back. So there is no right or wrong. I heard this great thing today, or I read this great thing on Instagram yesterday. A regular meditation practice doesn't make you good at meditation. It makes you good at life.
Love
You know,
it.
this is not, and I mean, you talk about, like we were talking before the interview started, you know, serendipity, synchronicity, synchrodestiny, you know, these things pop up and we don't trust the universe really. So we go, oh, isn't that mad? That's a coincidence. No, put it out to the universe. This thing popped up and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I've got the interview with Roberta today. And it just was so beautifully put. This is not, and women out there, all you beautiful, strong, amazing, fabulous women, I will feel it in my water if you are using this to beat yourselves up. This is a beautiful, sacred, kind, compassionate space. And as the Dalai Lama said, where it is possible, be kind. And it's always possible. And that has to start with you.
Yes.
So there we do. I have my 20 minutes in the morning. And then at the moment I'm doing a thing, the Julia Cameron Artist's Way. So I'll have my little journaling going on. So that's my formal meditation practice. And I really, really try and get that done 4 or 5 days a week. That good long, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I'll also say I'm up to 20 minutes, Berta. I started at 2. It's like running a marathon. You have to start small. You have to be kind, and there's no getting it wrong. You can't get meditation wrong. I have so many people, I don't know how to meditate. If you can breathe, you can meditate. And you're going to write that on a little post-it and put it on your mirror. I can breathe, therefore I can meditate. And you must give yourself this time to just sink into your bones. Yeah. Women have a really beautiful, I don't know if anybody gardens, but I'm doing a lot of gardening at the minute, and I'm growing stuff from seed. And when you bring it out of its little tiny baby pot to plant it, you have a big, what's called a tap root. And mindfulness for me, Bert, in this really special and challenging midlife phase, but definitely it's a very important transitional phase. It's that females have this amazing taproot to the universe. We have it in ourselves. That is why it's called Mother Earth. It's Mother Earth, Father Sky. We are in the ground. We are raising babies. We are looking after old people. We're looking after everybody. And we must look after ourselves first. And this will give us this space to do this. So that's fine. I go about my day, and the minute Henry opens that door, that's my 9-year-old son, as you know, that's it. You're on, Mom, what about this? We're talking about, and then your husband comes in. He goes, can I turn on the news? And then that's it. You are boom, bamboozled, or whatever your day looks like.
But you're ready for it because you've grounded yourself in the things that nurture you. Your mindset is in the right place at that point. And what you've described there in terms of how practically this plays out for you, you've worked on that as a habit. I go in, I put the kettle on. I know now I can sit down, and roughly that's the sort of timing of it. There's certain things that you'll do, like not letting the cats in, that'll make it happen and work optimally for you. And I I love this, progressing our health with these small steps and this awareness of this is how I make this a successful, sustainable practice. And I know and you were part of the challenge that I ran last November, Awesome Little Habits, so many people in there, and we had like 70 in the group. Meditation came up so many times. And really, I think there was one person like yourself that had said, yes, it's been transformative for them because they have succeeded in bringing this habit in. So I'd really like people to leave this conversation with those sort of nuggets of practical general advice for everyone if they want to get started.
Bert, can I just say before we go to just the few tips, I had a very intense situation 2 weeks ago. My dad got sick back in February, and because I'm the nurse and we live next door to my parents, they're in their 70s. I was finishing up my PT course. I had a lot going on. I actually got a little bit of anxiety just thinking about it. So as the time went on, I had a really, really, really intense week where I had a lot of coursework to do. My dad had been in hospital twice, but I was fine because that's what we do. I'm fine.
Yeah.
By the time the end of my course came, I had such a strong pain in the center of my chest and across my back and my shoulders that I ended up having to go to the GP because I thought I was having a cardiac event. Yeah. I'm a nurse. Okay. I'm a nurse, Roberta.
Yeah.
And can I tell you what preceded all? So I was doing my meditation, but if I think back on it, when I got super busy, it just sort of started to trickle away a little bit. Now, can I tell you, my years of meditation practice meant that it was my lifeboat, as in it was still underpinning everything. But in those 2 weeks up to that physical event, everything had gone out the window. Like I wasn't sleeping great, I wasn't eating great. And can I tell you, I was like up in the clouds. I went to the GP, and why I'm saying this is because I don't want people to watch this video and go, oh, it's all right for her. She knows how to do it. We are human. We get things right all the time. We get things wrong all the time. And I kind of fell off the wagon, as it were. And I ended up, and I know there'll be a woman out there going, oh my gosh, I have that all the time. And I ended up going to the GP. It was, well, actually rang one of my pals who was a cardiology nurse, and she said, Ruth, I honestly, and it was traveling into the base of my throat and under my right collarbone. I'm talking a physical pain.
Yeah.
And I have a really strong family history. And I rang my friend and she said, honestly, I think this is stress-induced gastritis. And gastritis is a fancy word for, inflammation in your tummy, because my stress hormones were through the roof. And as we've talked about, what happens when your stress hormones are through the roof, Bert, all of your digestive enzymes shut up shop. Yeah. So you've just got this, and it caused a physical pressure in my chest between my shoulders. And it took 10 days of being mindful of it. But medication, I had to take like a PPI, like an antacid medication. And you know how I feel. I don't take a lot of medications. I would be very, look after myself and my food and everything. I had let it go so long and so badly that I'd given myself, proper little. So these are all tools, but be very mindful that it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yeah. That's life. And it again is progress, not perfection. So I just wanted to share that.
No, and I think that, and thank you for that, because, we are all human and life is there and life is dynamic, and it's this roller coaster of, there'll be the highs and there'll definitely be the lows as well. And it's when you don't keep those practices in place, which you're acknowledging contributed to this, whether or not that would have been enough for what life was throwing at you, who knows, but it's having that awareness and that kind of peace of mind, I suppose, to a certain extent, to know that, okay, let me get back on track. I know what nourishes me. I know these things are important. No, I think, others will resonate with that. So it's not to say, I mentioned that, you have the silver bullet in terms of the practice and the steps to
Yeah.
getting the practice in place. But of course, like any muscle, if you stop working it, it stops being beneficial. So this is like just another muscle that you need to nurture and grow. So, what tips, if there was any number that you choose to share, of advice that someone could go away remembering, okay, here's what I've taken from this. What would you suggest?
Okay, so we've spoken about the book, and you'll put that in your show notes, or it'll be on the video, so that's fine. That's a great tool, but you don't need to do that. So you can start meditating now. The minute that this video is over, you're going to turn off your computer. You're going to close your eyes. You're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're going to feel your feet on the floor. You're going to feel the backs of your legs, your bum on the chair. You're going to be aware of your back, your shoulders, your arms, your face, the top of your head. That was less than 60 seconds. And immediately your body is going to respond to that. So look at your week, look at the craziness. And Berta, can I also tell you, it'll come to you when it's ready for you. Like, some people will push it away, and that is their journey. That's everybody's, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you want to do this regularly, don't kid yourself that the time will find you.
Yeah.
We must carve out that time, and it can be 10 minutes. Start with 5. That's what but say to yourself, I am going to have that 5-minute window every morning before the world opens up, or in the evening. The only thing I would say is be careful in the evening time, because the thing about mindfulness is we want it to waken us up. Like there's a different, there's different sort of sleeping meditations, and that can wind you down. But to get into the sort of getting off autopilot mode, the very essence of that is paying attention and being aware. So find the time. Another thing I love and that I do regularly is, when we go to bed at night, that is sometimes our first space in the day where there's nobody talking to us or at us. So that's when the thoughts start to go. And then, ooh, shocker, we don't understand that we can't get to sleep, because we start troubleshooting for what was today and then maybe tomorrow. Get a journal, have it at the side of your bed, and dump all of that in your journal. Journaling is well researched and renowned for being really therapeutic. Dump it. Nobody's ever going to read it. This is not a journal. This is a dumping journal. Whatever you want, stream of consciousness, how to fight with the kids. My husband's doing my head in. Oh my God, that deadline. Shit, I ate a cream cake before I go to bed. You're such an asshole. La, la, la. You know what I mean? Dump it, close it. Take 3 or 4 deep breaths where you send that into your bedside locker. There you go. Thank you very much. That is over there. Then get into bed and read your book. Or I also cannot urge people strongly enough, Roberta, is what Rangan Chatterjee in the Feel Better, Live More podcast talks about. No Tech 90. The No Tech 90, and whatever about your ordinary on the wall television. I know obviously those, the new modern televisions have blue screens and stuff, but it's that small screen of an iPad, a phone, an Apple Watch. I cannot urge you enough to leave that downstairs. Oh, I need it for my alarm clock. No, you don't. I have a 250 IKEA alarm clock. You please get an old-fashioned alarm clock, because I'm like anybody. I'll pick it up. Oh, I just forgot to do this. Oh, I'll just add that into my reminders. And that is feeding. I'll just have a little scroll of Instagram. Oh shit, I didn't do that. I'm like, you will never be able to get sleep. And I'm shocked at the number of women that will say, I didn't sleep until midnight, 1 o'clock. And then these women are up at 6 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning to go to work. I'm like, it is going to catch up with you. And especially, and in that, that time, I was getting more palpitations. Palpitations are very common in midlife, around perimenopause, all of that, so we want to calm we want to be in the cave, and we want to be safe, and we definitely want our bedroom to be safe. So leave the phone downstairs. prioritize your time, leave the phone downstairs, and do that dumping journal at the side of the bed.
That's super, Ruth. Some really great tips there. So I just want to summarize. You've shared the book. I'll put the details in the show notes. Really great 8-week practical guide to mindful meditation. You know, this very simple, less than 60 seconds, just sitting, being aware, toe to head type awareness of our body. Practice that just to get started. Be realistic on the time, you know, when it's right for you. Don't fight this that I have to carve it in. Make the time and space available when you're ready, and just be aware that, yes, this is a priority. This is a habit I really want to work on. And then the journaling, what's up in your head before you go to bed? Do you feel like you've done that dump of stuff that might come up and that you might ruminate on when you're trying to sleep? And then, yeah, the advice around the no tech 90 about, you know, building in a supportive bedtime routine. And that's a huge one, actually, because not only from a light perspective and how it then, you know, degrades the melatonin in your body, which helps, the hormone that helps us get to sleep, but also, you know, what are you reading then that gets up in your brain that prevents you from relaxing? Fantastic. So I'm sure a lot of people can really benefit from that to establish their practice.
Thanks, Bert. Can I just share? There's another book. It's called Sane New World by Ruby Wax.
Oh, hold it up.
I don't.
Just a bit. Yes, perfect. Okay, I'll put that in the show notes also.
That is an amazing read. So very famously, you know, Ruby Wax has a very famous mental health journey, and it's how she found mindfulness. And it's a really moving, amazing read of somebody that was very, very debilitated with anxiety and depression. And that's a really good book.
Great.
She worked, I think she worked with the guys. She went back and did a master's in mindfulness or something. Anyway, she's really, really good. So that's amazing.
Ruth, thank you so much for today, for coming on. It's been lovely to talk to you. If there are people that would like to hear more from you, what is the best way for them to connect?
Thanks, Bert. I am on Instagram. My name is Afgo Wellness. That is because we live in a beautiful place just outside Dublin called Afgo Castle. And it is a big old Georgian house that, interestingly, pre-COVID, I was very intimidated about looking after, but actually COVID has sort of slowed me down. I used to travel a lot, haven't been able to do that. And for us, it's been a good thing. I've just qualified as a personal trainer and a fitness instructor. I am so excited about that. That idea came from, I did triathlons 3 years ago and did a half Ironman. And that was just, I was all fired up, and then all fired up last year to do more. And then obviously COVID hit, but you know, I went in I started my training because I know, as a woman in her 40s, exercise, Roberta, it's like my Prozac. Like, if I don't exercise, like, my family will go, do you think you need to go and run or stretch or do something? I want to bring that to other women. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be only for females, but I'm starting with a group of nurses, actually. The word on the street is that we're going to be able to do sort of group outside exercise from mid-May in Ireland. So end of May, I'm starting my circuit training outside. All the girls tell me they're terrified because obviously they know that I'm kind of hardcore. I was like, no, this is about community connection. And then the idea will be is that we'll have classes, and then afterwards we will have a coffee and we'll have a glass of kombucha, and then we'll have a little protein bowl. And then I'll talk about nutrition, you know, in your 40s after exercise, you know, which you have introduced me to so much of that. And again, it comes back down to, we want to thrive, not just survive. You know, this is, essentially, yes, it is scary. People go, what do you mean the second half of my life? I'm like, well, I'm 46 and the average lifespan in the Western world for a woman's 85. So I'm in the midlife.
Yeah.
And instead of being scared of it, I want to be empowered. Like this beautiful woman said to me a couple of years ago, she said, oh my God, I love working with women in their 40s. She said, Ruth, this is the time of your life where you can either become invisible or choose the seat of your female power. And I was like, well, I am not becoming invisible.
No way.
That is friggin' sure. So we have all of this knowledge and wisdom and skills, and we just need to empower each other to remember all that we're amazing, amazing, amazing creatures, and we need to support each other within that space.
I love
so that's
that.
what I would love to do more of.
No, that combination of working on the body, working on the strength. I mean, obviously our hormones are against us in this aging process. We got to work harder to sustain and maintain our muscles, the whole nutritional aspect, but that sense of community, of actually gathering and doing it together, motivating and inspiring. It's wonderful, and way to go. I can't wait to see how you progress and keep those stories coming through Instagram. Ruth, before I say goodbye, my business is called Your Healthier Lifestyle. And I believe that health really is a journey. It's not a destination. We got to keep working on it. We got to keep innovating. And, if we do want to get healthier, bring things into our life, is there anything that you're doing at the minute that you would like to share for your healthier lifestyle to perhaps inspire others?
I have discovered recently flexibility movement. So yes, I would probably need to do more yoga and more Pilates, but I'm pretty high energy, Bert, and that doesn't always mix with my personality. But I'll be 47 in the summer, and I am noticing a bit of stiffness in the joints. I've random arthritis in my little thumb, and I am doing, they're called dynamic flexibility movements. And I am going to be putting them up I am going to be putting a video up on Instagram. I've just been crazy busy with the course, but it's daily 10 minutes. And they're based on I think they've come out of sports movement. So there's one called over and under. So you're just stepping over and you can hear your hips. You can, but this flexible and dynamic movement for me is really beautiful. And because it's dynamic, it's movement, as opposed to, it just suits my personality, as opposed to maybe something more static. So that for me has been pretty fantastic in keeping my hips and my body limber. I had a very chronic shoulder injury for years. That's all fixed, because anything that we have not dealt with physically or emotionally is going to show up at this time in our life. So that is what I'm doing and loving at the moment.
Well, we'll have to get on at another point to chat about your PT training. That's a whole other conversation. And I wish you so well in getting that established. Those nurses don't know what they're in for. So, and look, you'll bring the fun. I know that for sure. We've had many's a good day and night together. Ruth, take care. Lots of love to you and everyone over there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bert. Great to talk to you.